they don't know what they're missing, clearly. So, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks everybody for coming along. I've got a good friend of mine, Steve Pollock, who I've known for many years, and so I just want to share something about which is very kind of pertinent to our discussion here about networking. So I was having lunch with a business associate. This was way back when, and as I was leaving, dropping him off at his office, I noticed this company, Platespin, which I'd never heard of. So I decided, well, what the hell? So I walked into the office. It was a small little office at the time, et cetera. I remember specifically they had this rack of servers with about 3 or 4 fans trying to cool them off. And I was thinking, this is a little fly by night. Anyways, I just walked in there, met with Steve, and his company turned into a, how many people did you have, Steve, at its
Uh,
peak before you sold to
220,
Novell?
225 at exit.
Yeah, and so just by kind of sticking my neck out there a little bit and meeting him, I gained a really excellent friend and a business associate and stuff. And so I guess the moral of the story is if you don't reach out and talk to people and touch people, then stuff just doesn't happen. And the internet, as much as it's great connector, is also a great disconnector and stuff. So, Steve, maybe give a quick overview of yourself and your thoughts on networking and sale and pitch, your elevator pitch.
Yeah, actually, and just if I can, let me close up on that one too, Mike. It's two sides of a story, right? So Mike, took his moment to go perhaps, to the edge of his comfort zone by knocking on a stranger's door. And when I opened up the door, I did the same thing, which is, am I going to spend some time talking with somebody who knocked on my door? Well, that's not that common that someone knocked on my door. So he did, and we did talk, and it benefited both of us. So his networking outreach and my inclination to listen to him and take a chance, because of course I could always just say no, and I wasted a few minutes, nothing more. Turned out to be worthwhile. And Mike definitely helped hire some people for my business. So that was a very successful relationship. And as he said, now we're good friends. So it's a two-way concept. So if people reach out to you, you should remind yourself that it's worth exploring because you don't know that person and what they're trying to do and in what way it might benefit you. I don't mean you answer every marketing call you get, obviously, but it is a two-way process. So my story I wanted to share was a sort of different than Mike's in that, my comfort zone as a technology entrepreneur is different. I would describe myself as not necessarily all that extroverted, although I love to giggle and laugh at parties and things, but I'm not the person who goes and shakes 100 hands somewhere. So in the second year of my business, this is 2004, so quite a while ago, we had an opportunity to make a presentation on ROB TV, which you wouldn't know, but it's like a Dragon's Den kind of concept. So the entrepreneurs make a 1-minute pitch to an audience of investors, and you interact with them. They ask you questions, you get some feedback, and potentially one of them decides to invest. Unlike Dragon's Den, it doesn't happen live on TV with the investment itself, but it was really important for me to practice that 1 minute, that elevator pitch that everybody always says they should have at their fingertips. I spent a whole day practicing my 1 minute. And partly was I was being timed. So in my particular case, I actually did have only 1 minute. So I realized it was important. I had to get my message across. I was going to be on TV, it was going to be recorded and played as was. So if I goofed up, the goofs would be there. And then I'd have a chance to answer questions live with people. So I had to practice that as well. And in a sense, it was good exposure for the business as it turned out. And we were able to, validate our messaging through this kind of forum. And one of the participants actually did become an investor in our business. So that 1-minute pitch is really important to feel very comfortable about saying who you are and what you do. And I've had to learn that more because it's not my natural skill as it is Mike's to just talk to anybody who comes along. I have to be much more thoughtful about preparing for that. So I think that's part of the mission today is to encourage that kind of comfort.
Okay, so you're all being taped and recorded, and so this will go out on YouTube. Not just joking. So let's get a quick check-in from the group here. Any highlights of the past week, besides Orit moving to a new house, God bless. Do you folks have a support group? Or do you have people that are backstopping you as you're kind of making your way through this process? And also thoughts on one good thing that you can do going forward that maybe is a little bit different or outside your comfort zone. So anybody want to kind of pipe up on any of these?
I'm not sure if this is what you mean, but I have some news. I was approached by an Amazon recruiter, so I was very happy about that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, for anything specific or just hi, let's talk.
For a job. She had
For a
a
job.
specific job in mind. Yeah.
Excellent. And do you have an interview set up with them?
Not yet. It was just yesterday.
Oh,
I answered yesterday. I'm
okay.
hoping to hear from them. Yeah, but
Good for you.
it was an indication that I did something good on LinkedIn.
What did you do good on LinkedIn, do you think?
Everything you told me. I I participated in a JAS workshop about LinkedIn a few weeks ago. I don't remember how many.
Yeah,
And I did everything she said.
excellent.
Like, updating the skills and expanding on the experience and reaching out to people and connecting, and I did everything.
Nice work. Anybody else? Any other highlights?
I have a highlight, but not from this week, from last week.
That's good.
I got my first second interview, which is like post screening, because apparently they really like to do screening here. So I took the subway, a bus, and an Uber to get to Bolton, where the job was.
Bolton.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a very insightful interview, but I think we're not gonna go forward.
What was insightful about the interview?
Well, it kind of gave me a window into the sort of like the kind of questions that I will be asked during an interview, and kind of like had the opportunity to sort of practice my pitch, you know. Yeah.
Mike, if I
Yeah,
can,
and so
Michael, you raise an interesting point that I've always found. You need to also create some practice opportunities, and you could apply for jobs you don't really want, hoping to get the interview just to practice. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, actually, I did kind of want the job until I realized what a hassle it was to get to Bolton, and it's like 5 weeks on site, and I don't think I can make the commitment of going like buying a car right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have your papers then, Mike? Do you have
Yeah.
your yeah,
Yeah. I've
cool.
had
Yeah.
them since April, and frankly, it's been tough. Like, I don't want to ruin it for everyone, but like it's been kind of tough finding a job. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I you know, I I so like I so empathize, with the world that you're in, and like I just to talk about serendipity again, and concerning running into Steve, and meeting a good friend, who's a good friend all these years later. When I was unemployed for about I got downsized back in the early 90s in one of the recessions, and I didn't know what to do with myself. So I had bought one of these an educational savings plan for kids, and so I bought it, and then they have this sort of Amway-like arrangement where you can
Huh.
go ahead and work. You're selling, you're selling it. So I was going to shopping centers and trying to sell RESPs, registered educational savings plans, and it wasn't working out. Then I tried something else, and that wasn't working out, and I wasn't bringing in any money, and it was a really scary time actually and stuff. And then I was walking down the street, and I ran into this guy who lived down the street from me who was in the computer business. I didn't know what he did. And I just introduced myself. We were on the same street. We were literally neighbors, but maybe 10 houses down. And it turns out that he was in the recruiting business. He ran a recruiting business. And I said, well, I was asking him, I said, just kibitzing and stuff, because I'm from Montreal. He's from Montreal. He's Jewish. I was Jewish. And I said, well, what do you guys do? He said, well, we're recruiters. And I said, you guys are scum-sucking bottom dwellers. Because every experience I've ever had with a recruiter sucked, like because they didn't care about me, they never got back to you, they didn't give a shit, they didn't know anything about the job, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, he said, yeah, come meet the people. I went and met the people, was impressed by the people, and I ended up with a 30-year career. So literally the serendipity, like in a million years, I never would have thought I would have ended up in recruiting because I didn't even know what the industry was because it had a bad smell about it. So just FYI, it's a journey. It's going to be long and hard, and but you never know where the dendrites and where these little kind of tentacles come from or lead to. And so do not spend all your time on the internet. Do not. It will suck you dry. It'll turn you into a shriveling miasma of frustration and upset, and your connections with people, I think, will go a long way towards your success. Maybe
really,
miasma is a bit of a, but
Yeah.
is that the right word, Steve? I don't know.
I
Science
was
fiction
going to
guy. But
say,
anyways,
you should tell us how you really feel.
yeah, really. My subtlety eluded me again.
So,
Okay, so we talked a little bit about this last time. Volunteering, clubs, organizations, community events, anywhere where you can get out and just interact with people, just to get outside of your daily sort of comfort zone of responding to ads. Steve, what do you think about the internet versus do you have any thoughts on how much time to spend on sort of responding to ads versus trying to just reach people? Because this whole experience is like kissing frogs. It's a pain in the ass, right? Because the
Yeah.
chances of
Yeah, I mean, my own advice, and I practice this myself as well, is like any mission, you have to allocate time to it. And if you're, look at your work week, you were asked earlier to have a highlight for the week. You should make it a goal to have a highlight for the week. Just like you should make it a goal to say, today I'm going to have 4 reach outs, and every day I'm going to have 4 reach outs. And so every day you get up, you have your routine, you do your 4 reach outs, and then mentally your day is free because your mind has made that commitment and it's fulfilled it. So now you go on. If you just sit there trolling LinkedIn, looking for things, as Mike says, you could spend all day surfing. There's many things to read that don't get you anywhere. So I think part of it is just having some goals. If every day you reach out to 5 companies to see if there's something interesting, after a week you've got 25, and after a month you've got over 100. That's plenty to get you going, and it may have taken you a half an hour to do that each morning, and then you're done with it. And then pick another thing, which is I want to find one networking event that's face to face, whatever it might be. Obviously, volunteering is probably the most available and accessible. Make sure you get one scheduled per week, just one. That's a start. And if you do more, you do more. But I think that's a great way to look at it from my point of view. Instead of sitting there all day just stressing about the whole thing, just give yourself some scheduled time where you allocate towards the different tasks you want to do, and over time they'll yield some results.
So out of the group, anybody been involved in any of these like community events or clubs, or have you tried anything, groups, meetups? Has anybody had any success or efforts at doing this? No?
I was, I think, 1 month ago that Lisa did some event with the. There were like a speed date between some people that are already in the networking, and they're well connected, let's say, and some new people and newcomers, and we did like a speed date, and it was really nice. And I met some few people. One studied with me in the university in Haifa like 15 years ago, and it was funny.
Yeah. But I listen, guys and gals, it's critical that you reach out and that you go to different things where you meet people. You never know where connection happens. And even you're sitting there and you're like a bit like a bump on a log, or you're uncomfortable, or whatever the case may be. But just by going out and talking to people, it leads to other people, it leads to other people, because that's how you present yourself best. I can't tell you how many resumes I get when if I post a job on LinkedIn, it's like you're inundated. And all of these people are qualified and capable in their own way and stuff, but you can only deal with them in so many ways and stuff. And so that you're sifted out immediately, because you end up with 150 candidates. You only want to talk to 5 or 10, and so you throw out the rest, the baby with the bathwater. And so the only way that you're going to get those connections is by reaching out, talking to people, introducing yourself, telling them a little bit about your story, giving back, helping them in some way, making a connection for them, and then that will lead to this flywheel activity, etc. So it's critical, and especially when you've got this downtime now because you can't work until your papers come in, is that there's just you've got to get out there and just be meeting people, and just introducing yourself. You may not be comfortable, but just get out there. It will pay itself back in spades. I promise you. And because
Mike,
otherwise
can I
you're gonna
jump?
it's just
I can share an experience.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry,
Lisa.
sorry,
Yeah.
Lisa.
No, I was just going to ask her, Reed, if there was did you do follow up? Like, did you link in with people and try to connect with them after the event?
Yes, I tried with one lady that is she was working with the company that I'm working now, but she worked with the US Canadian branch. She didn't answer me yet on Facebook, but I still didn't get my papers. So I'm doing it in a very small volume.
Right. You can sort of try and contact her one more time, and then my philosophy is like twice, and then because people are so busy, so they might not they might have noticed it and then got distracted. So you can always try one more time, or you can wait till you have your work permit. That's also an option.
Or what you do is that you had something in common with her, did you? Like, was the same company?
She's
No?
not
What
working
did you
now
say?
at the same company, but she was an advisor to the company that I'm working with, but I'm working with the Israeli branch.
Oh, okay. Well, or maybe you see an article that you think might be of interest to her and the like, and send it along as a link in or as an attachment to just reminding, looking forward to connecting with you, and you have an interesting article that that shows
Yeah.
that that you've got some added value besides just wanting to reach out to her and perhaps get a job. Like anything that you can do to show value to somebody, what's the benefit to them about connecting with you in some way, shape, or form, right?
Mike, I just posted
Sorry,
a
did
link.
somebody else?
Oh,
Yeah.
Mike, sorry, I just posted a link on the chat,
Go ahead.
which also introduces, if you're not aware how Slack is used outside of corporate organizations, a lot of the groups, especially that revolve around the technical sectors, have their own Slack communities.
Oh, wow.
And I find they're very,
Oh,
very
okay.
responsive and very, very organized around people looking for jobs, people looking for advice, people looking to network, people looking to do meetups. If you're in an area like Toronto where there's so many people, they're great places to get into. I know in some cases you have to be accepted into them. In other cases, they just let anybody sort of get in. You have to apply. I don't have any advice about how you find each of them, but that link just identifies a bunch of them. So if you copy that link, you might find it's a good way to find out that there's a beer gathering of product managers going on downtown at some pub on a Saturday night, and they're looking for people to come. Which would be probably a good example of what Mike was talking about.
Well, that's like LinkedIn groups as well, yeah?
Well, I think the advantage of the Slack, I find personally the Slack one operates differently than LinkedIn. It's way more active and responsive, and it divides into the categories. Like there's typically a Slack channel in each one for hiring and for people with challenges they're trying to address and so on. So they're way more suited for how you want to interact with them.
Oh, cool. Great. So that's in the chat?
Put it in the chat, yeah, for people to copy.
Great. Okay. Okay, so I put together this. This historically was meant for people who are who have jobs, right? And then when it comes time at year end or when their review comes up, what I suggest to them is, and there's three pages of this. I cut, or Steve cut it off for me and stuff, just to, so people could actually read the damn thing. So the idea is that you take what your skill sets are, putting aside your resume, but take what your skill sets are, look at it as accomplishments, what you did, but even more specifically, what's the benefit, right? Because that's the so what. Because if you say is like, I'm a great coder, well, so what? You know, I'm a and if you get as nitty gritty as you can in terms of what your skill sets are and what the benefit is that. So I speed up performance time. You know, I reduce the number of bugs. I use artificial intelligence, which increases my performance by a factor of 3, whatever the case may be. And then you use that as part of your elevator pitch, because it's the benefit to the customer that will define a lot of the success that you have, right? There's stuff which is the tangible part, and then there's the stuff which is related to them, which is what can I do for them, the so what. So, you know, anything which is stellar performance, what have you done to stand out? What courses or books or programs have you taken, which shows that you're a learner, you know, a continual learner, and distinguishes from other people who maybe are not such. Where have you done cost savings within an organization or improved performance, right? What were the circumstances and how were the results compared to others, right? Where have you generated revenue for an organization, which everybody's desperate for, needless to say? You know, how did you do that? What was unique? Have you improved productivity within the organization? Have you been able to identify specific problems that others haven't? Again, accomplishments, and then going after the benefits. You know, what's the net result? It increased performance by 10%. You know, we reduced costs by $50,000, which was, you know, whatever, like way beyond what the expectations were. Stuff like that, which really makes you stand out in the maddening crowd, as opposed to, you know, I worked for 5 years at XYZ place. Were you able to identify problems, establish specific objectives, which maybe were outside of the purview of the organization, any areas where you're particularly creative, and then anything else? So I would strongly suggest that you all take this, create your own table or spreadsheet, and do this exercise for yourselves. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about breaking out and maybe getting a support, helping each other support each other. But get outside the box, like work on this, get somebody's feedback, and get that feedback loop going and the like. Because if they keep asking you, so what, then it means you haven't gotten to the benefit to the client. And it's the benefit to the client which will define whether the sale, quote unquote, which is you getting a job, gets made or not. And this is I don't know, this may be a little bit outside the box and stuff, but this is the idea that somebody showed this to me. And so in effect, if you're at a networking event or you have contacts, I would strongly suggest that you go about actually printing these out. This is a little bit big, but if you think about putting it on the size of a recipe card, you know, recipe cards are about yay by yay, you know, maybe 3 by 5 sort of thing. And if you do something like this, wow, you know, I don't know. I'm a little bit like, I don't want to. I'm out there, right? You know, like, I mean, that's my job, is to be out there and meeting people. What do you think about that? About actually going out? You're at an event, you go and talk to somebody and say, "Here's my card," and you show them this nicely printed recipe card with a nice photo of yourself, etc. And it's going to make you stand out. Any thoughts?
Mike, one I like about
Thumbs up.
Mike, one of the things I like about that is it creates a way for them to recognize you if you're trying to reach out to them some other way. So if you send them a LinkedIn connection request and you have also met them this way, they're more likely to pick you out of the inbox, so to speak, because there's a connection, like you've hit them from 2 different angles. So that's a really good approach, I find. You know, Mike, I'm sure you can talk to lots of stories where you get 1,000 resumes. So, you know, how does one appear at the top? You know, either you sort through 1,000 or somebody's created another way to make it memorable for you to pull it out. So that's a good one as well. Is your lead can also be, it was great meeting you. I gave you my card. I was wondering if we can follow up, and they'll remember you that way, because you've given them a reason to remember you.
Right. So, you know, the idea also is that just in any way, shape, or form, how to stand out. right? Now, some people may feel this is a little bit too out there. I'm personally, anything that you can use to differentiate yourself from the rest of the maddening crowd is a good thing, and it's respectful also. It's not like you're taking this thing and, the idea of giving somebody, you meet somebody in a network event and giving them a resume just doesn't work, right? It's just, they got this piece of paper, what are they going to do? You got all this stuff on it, etc. But if you can just highlight the strengths that you've got, that differentiates you, there's a picture, a good picture, with your contact information, I think that would really help you stand out away from the maddening crowd. Lisa, are you still there?
Yeah, sometimes I have
maybe
trouble
not.
getting off of mute.
Any thoughts?
I am here, and I think it's a good
What do
idea.
you think?
I mean, people might not they might just take a picture of it, but whatever, it's a good idea. The other thing I thought of while you were talking, from a while ago, I had a marketing person and she made a hashtag. So like you can, you use your phone, take a picture of the hashtag, and then it goes into whatever, your LinkedIn profile or whatever. So that's something that could maybe put on to this kind of calling card.
A hashtag or one of those VR codes?
Oh, the VR
think
code,
you're-
sorry, the
You're
VR
referring
code. Yeah, the VR code.
I think you're referring to a QR code.
QR code.
Yeah,
sorry.
thank you, guys. Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah.
I have to say it with social work.
Double, triple fail, double, triple fail.
QR code. Guys, it's earlier in Winnipeg.
Excuse my Jewishness, my Israeliness.
No. I love Israeliness. So yeah, QR code. That was an idea from a marketing person.
How do you do a QR code? How do you get that? How do you?
I have no idea.
It's easy now. There's QR code creation sites, and it is the most common way now. Put it on your T-shirt, literally.
Oh man, that's a great
great.
idea.
Walk around with a QR.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be this big. It just has to be there so somebody could scan it, and you're never without it.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
That
Make sure it's located in the right place on your T-shirt is all I can say. It's not
Yes.
trouble.
I was gonna say you can also add it to the calling card.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But printing it on a T-shirt, that sounds very dystopian.
There you go. Put it there.
Oh, there we go.
We'll draw a QR code.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Mike.
be a
Remember,
tech.
I started, Mike.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if anyone did try to write that 1-minute speech, because we sort of did give them homework, and then I reminded them.
Yeah, my ADD.
So you can ask them at some point.
Yeah. Well, let's do it now. We got a few minutes and stuff. Anybody did their 1-minute presentation, like their elevator pitch? Let's anybody willing to get out there and Al, you look ready. You look primed.
Yeah, I have one ready.
Okay.
I hope it's gonna take a minute. Well, here you go. Hi, my name is Eyal Leffler, and I am an experienced software engineer and technical leader with over 15 years of experience in software development and architect. In my recent role at Rafael, I managed to develop a multiple project ensuring timely, delivered, and enhancing operational efficiency by over 20% in the last year. I excel in translating complex requirements into detailed development plan and have a proven track record in using C# and .NET technology to develop robust and scalable application. I'm currently looking for a new opportunity where I can leverage my skills and experience to drive project success and contribute to the development of cutting-edge technology software solutions.
50 seconds, Eyal. That's 50 seconds. I timed it.
Good work. Steve, any thoughts?
No, it was good. The things I always look for is, there has to be a way for someone to hear the right things. Like if it has to be, easy to internalize, which I thought yours was. Actually, I thought it was a pretty good, pretty good overall summary. Sometimes I might recommend what you're looking for should be earlier in the pitch, because it provides some context for the person to listen. I'm looking for a programming job, and then if they're not looking to hire programmers, you're not fighting that battle needlessly, and they get to ask questions. I think for me, what I like the best is as soon as I can get the person to ask me something, then I've got a way to now engage and hook. If I just talk for a minute and then they stare at me, then I know I didn't really engage them in any particular way because I've just put out a, like a biography, a litany of things. So it does help to, remind everybody, I'm really good. I've got experience looking for this kind of job. Let's get started talking.
Yeah, just a
Thank
thought, a
you.
couple of thoughts. So some, as Steve said, like describe what it is that you're looking for. Like I'm a programmer, like I'm a, or a, be specific. Like I'm a C#, I'm a Microsoft centric C#.NET programmer.
Yeah.
Just to clarify what that is, and also maybe to put some context around the company that you were with, what they do. So we developed blah 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 blah, and the team I was working on, there was a team of 7. I was the senior programmer or senior program, because you threw out architect, and I didn't know in what context you have design architecture skills versus programming skills, right? So
Okay.
so to describe that, and also, I'm sorry.
I said okay.
And
Oh,
and
no.
and so yeah, and also you're like, there's 2 different types of networking opportunities. One is you're looking for a connection, a straight line connection, right? Like connect the dots. Do you know anybody, or if the person is hiring for the job, like, or they're a director of development, that's one thing. But if you're just networking with people, is that all you're looking for is another connection. Like the chances are they won't know somebody, who's a VP of development at a shop. Maybe they do, please God, maybe probably they don't. So you just want another connection, right? So if you can put some some of your personal experience, like I've got 15 years of C# and .NET experience. I've got both architecture as well as design background, and I'm interested in finding companies that have like a specific vertical market or something, like, so you can then help that person lead you to somewhere else, or add some kind of personal anecdote into it, as opposed to the sort of the straight cut and dried programming stuff, I think would be useful. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, there's always another way to do everything, it seems.
Because I could be
Um,
wrong, like
Well, no, well, that's just it. I think they're all right. That the
they're
problem
all
is to develop the ability to recognize what track you're on. Like Eyal, if you're talking to me and you say all that, that's okay because I've announced myself as a technology guy, so I will understand everything you've said. If you're
Right.
talking to somebody who happened to meet at an event, you sort of need to qualify them a little bit to know which way that 1 minute should go. Because
Yeah.
if you lose them after the first 10 seconds, there's no point in that. But as to Mike's point, they could be a path to something else. So you almost want to ask a question first, or at least make sure you know a little bit about who you're talking to and what their orientation is, and then have several spins on how to do the 1 minute in order to know, do I go deep? Do I go wide? Do I just focus on, I'm looking for a great challenge. I'm a really hardworking guy because that's what they want. Like anything to show, like this is somebody I want to interview, because good recruiters will always interview good people, even if they don't ultimately hire them, but they want to give them a chance. And I find the trap to avoid is don't create reasons to say no. And unfortunately, the best way to cause somebody to say no is to be too specific about your experiences. I've worked in the insurance industry while I'm recruiting for healthcare, so therefore you must not be a good candidate for me. Whereas what you really meant to say is I'm a great developer and I love technical challenges. It just so happens my job was in healthcare, but that doesn't really matter because it's a skill. So don't disqualify yourself by being too focused on things that aren't really relevant for your job choice. You're looking for great teams, great challenges, love working with people, whatever those other things are. And then you have experience, but try not to create a trap where therefore you get disqualified.
So, and I think also the question is what's the ask?
Right. Right. That's important to know who you're talking to.
Yeah, and so the ask is that once you've sort of given an overview, like I'm a hardworking, really smart, proven programmer. Anybody that you know of that is in the world of technology in any way, shape, or form, I would love to have a conversation with. I think I can add value to to them and to their company, you know. That you got to ask them. Well, you don't, but you should. Like, what's the ask, right? Anybody
So
else
if-
want to try?
I have a question.
Lisa?
So
No,
sorry,
no,
Navid,
ask the question.
before the speech. If, for example, I want a remotely job or partly remotely, is it okay to say it in the pitch, or it's better after? Because maybe some recruiter will say, okay, she wants only remote or partially remote. Okay, I don't want her.
Steve?
Arit, my view there is you want it to be in your hand, and therefore you want to be the one to say no. You don't want the recruiter to say no. So the more constraints you give them, the more easier it is for them to say no. You know, get the job offer and then say, is it remote? And then at least you have the opportunity of saying no. Or you could decide, you know, despite the travel story earlier, going to Bolton, you know, you may decide that it's really interesting enough that it would overcome your desire to be remote for at least the first few months. Because some companies will have that as their answer too. They'll say, you know, for the first 3 months, you have to be in the office as much as you can because it's team building and other things. But eventually it can be remote. You'll have lost the opportunity to know that based on how their on-ramping would work. So try not to offer that disqualification because it's certainly not an opening pitch thing. It's much, much better to have that as your qualification criteria later when you're trying to make your choices. Does that make sense?
And plus, you know, as we said, there's two different scenarios. There's multiple scenarios. You know, one scenario is just you're talking to a recruiter. Another scenario is you're talking to a, you know, a CTO. Another situation is you're just talking to somebody in the community center and stuff that you ran into and the like,
Right.
and you're just ultimately you're just trying to get a connection to another connection and just expand your network. That's all.
Right.
just
So
as
that's
Yeah.
sorry,
Oh,
that's
so-
what I wanted to comment on. It really have to know who you're talking to because you know, you're not like Steve said, you don't get too technical if you're just, you know, talking to someone at a community center in the playground, or you know, if you're going to a meetup where you know everyone's a techie, that's fine. You can be like a lot more specific because they understand that language. So you do have to tailor, like IEL speech needs to be tailored. And I think he was right actually not to say what kind of company he worked for because he works for a defense industry, which is, you know, not so politically correct these days with Israel. And also we don't have a whole lot of defense going on in Toronto. So it's probably a good idea not to discuss the company.
So what's 1 degree of separation from that then? Stuff in verticals that are applicable. Cybersecurity, manufacturing, ask ChatGPT, Al. You know, give me. All right.
Mike loves chat GBT.
Yeah, I love ChatGPT. Okay. Anyways,
Actually,
who else has
Mike's
done?
not really here. It's a video rendition.
Yeah, right. It's just a
I'm just not. I'm a bobblehead, right? There's no. That's all I am. Anybody else done a pitch? Anybody else got something? Homework. Anybody
Thanks,
else want to
Ayel.
try?
That was brave.
Olga, you look
Question,
keen.
if I may.
Yeah.
My longest and recent experience is as a data analyst working part-time, and I was struggling with how to represent it. I mean, I don't want to ignore it. It's 5 years experience, but I only worked a few hours a week. I did it during my PhD. So how would you recommend that I represent it in my pitch?
Navit, is there concern that it was just part-time and how to represent that part of it?
Yes, should I call it part-time for first, because it was only a few hours a week? So is it called part-time?
Well, I mean, it probably is, but I think, you know, you have a different scenario there. You know, first off, you were at school, so anybody who hears that would understand that it must be part-time or you wouldn't have been able to do your schoolwork. So do you have your PhD? Sorry, if you don't mind my asking. Oh, great, congratulations. My son's working on his. He's in his 3rd year. It's the experience that I think I would focus on. So even though part-time, full-time doesn't really matter, you know, what were you doing? You were a data analyst working on a big problem. I don't know if it's related to your PhD area of discipline. And, you know, I would focus on that. You know, as a student, you were showing the you know, the willingness to work while you're at school, which not a lot of students get a chance to do. So what did you learn? I would focus, you know, while I was at school, I had several part-time jobs doing the following. I learned to communicate well because I was a marker, or you know, I held classes and did seminars, and my son does that. You know, I think that would probably be better than worrying about how to represent it as a part-time job because you were a student. Presumably that's more interesting. I assume people would be interested in the fact you're a PhD because there's a huge amount of, you know, extra maturity and professionalism that comes from people who have that level of degree.
So I'm sorry, I did not understand. Should I say that during my PhD I worked also part-time as a data analyst? Both also the PhD and the work are very relevant to the position that I'm looking for now, because I did a PhD in physics and I worked on computational physics, so I did simulations and models, and it was on large systems, so it's very relevant to being a data scientist. And the work I did at the part-time job, is actually doing the statistical analysis for a company for like it was a clinic that was giving treatment to people, and I analyzed how good they are and how well the treatment works. So it was very elaborated statistical analysis, not straightforward, and it's a good experience to show. I mean, I can talk about a lot of the work I did there. It's relevant. It would come up in my interview. So in my pitch, should I say that I have a PhD and and at the same time I worked part-time as a data analyst? Or
My quick reaction to that, Naveed, first of all, strangely enough, my son's doing physics and math as well. So there's probably some common topics you could talk about with him, although he's in quantum loop gravity, if that means it, or loop quantum gravity, if that means anything to you.
Oh, all these stupid people.
I think everything you said sounded good to me, except you didn't need to say part-time because it's just
Right.
relevant. Right? You described things that you did. You know, if it hadn't been part-time, you would have just done more of it. So if somebody says, you know, how much time did you do? You have to be honest. You know, I did it while I was doing my PhD. You still don't have to say part-time. Let them draw whatever conclusion they want. I don't think you have to call it out because again, you're offering a reason for someone to disqualify things you say when you don't need to. But you focused on what you did. I mean, your PhD says a lot. It has to, right? So you should keep that front and center in telling your particular story.
Okay, so if we could, I want to be respectful of time as well. So we're going to throw each other into breakout rooms. Dana, I don't know, 4 in a room sort of thing. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll throw 4 into a room. Oh, we got. So what I'm suggesting, or what I'm thinking, for anybody that's interested, and we'll try this for a few weeks, is Monday mornings at 8:30. We're going to set up a Zoom call, and people can come in. We'll have, you know, one good thing that happened during the week, and we can practice our elevator pitches, and we can try and talk about what we're going to do for the next week. And just to check in for each other to build out support. And I'm going to get Lisa to put together the contact information from the folks that have been attending, as well as Lisa. Are you still?
Yeah,
you're there, right?
I'm still here, believe it or not. Yep.
Is there any information that we could put on the? I guess, you know, just to highlight what the people do, you know, like similar to this sort of business card thing that I was talking about, just so people can know who to sort of network with, know who they might want to connect with. Is that something that's doable?
Yeah. Well, because for some of them who attended the speed mentoring, I already have their little blurbs. So just everyone else can just send me the little blurbs, or the other option is we just get everyone sends me their LinkedIn, URLs, and then people can look it up. That's the other
Right.
option on LinkedIn. Yeah, I just wanted to throw out, if you don't mind, Mike, I just want to make sure the
course.
time's good for people.
Yeah,
So we're
Yeah,
looking at,
okay.
because there's kids, some people, there's kids
yeah,
involved
kids. Yeah.
and stuff. So the question is it better, like, is it better earlier in the morning or after your kids are settled? I know most of your kids are probably running around the house as opposed to going to camp this summer. So I'm not sure if it makes a difference, but any preferences?
I would love it if it would be around 9:30, not 8:30, because that's the time where,
The kids are.
yeah, dropping them off at the
Right.
summer camps and later schools.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about too.
Yeah, me
Thank
too.
you, Lisa.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So why don't we try this? Let's say we'll set it up for Dana. Could you set up a Zoom link for Monday, this coming Monday at 9:30 for all the people that were on? And
Yeah,
I'll send you a
absolutely.
little blurb as to what
I have
what we're trying to. Yeah. Sorry, Mike.
I have a proposal.
Sorry.
I have a proposal.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Perhaps we could start either a WhatsApp group or a Slack channel to sort of have the communication have the better communications, more like live and not like email and stuff like that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, you
Lisa,
guys could, yeah,
Well,
what?
you guys can. Yeah, you guys could do that. And stuff.
Nicole,
I'm
maybe
not
you
on
do that
Slack and
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you create it, because I don't think I want to be involved because I'm not going to be around that long. So so I think that would be a great idea. I know you're an initiator there, Michael, so that might be a great idea for you to set that up.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
we're going to
so-
flesh it out with Mike, what we're going to do in that like half hour. Like, I think part of it is what he said, sharing. So like when you're everybody hears a good thing and stuff, and then maybe setting goals for the next week. So it's like
Yeah.
sort of you're committing to someone, like when you go try to lose weight, if you tell someone, you're more likely to do it. It's the same with job search. You say, I'm going to try and meet with one person in person next week, if this is my first time, and then you report back on that.
And I do want you guys to practice or to come with to come with your little sort of elevator pitch, because I think it really is useful. And as Steve said when he did the Dragon's Den thing, the more that you practice it, the more you're comfortable with a kind of the pattern, the more sort of personal it is, the easier it gets, and also the more it connects with people. So if you're going to show up on Monday, it would be great if you guys do it. We can all just practice among each other. It's all good. It's a no. What's the word? No. Yeah. No. It's a no attacking
No
zone.
lose situation. No lose.
Judgment-free zone.
I can share.
That's it. Thank you.
Mike, do you want me to play the 1 minute?
Sure.
Oh, do you have the video there? Yeah. Let's hear it.
I do. This is my 1 minute in the year 2004.
Oh, cool.
The first one is Plate Spin, and they are an internationally recognized developer of adaptive data center management technologies. Let's meet Stephen Pollock, who is the CEO. Good evening.
Thank you, Michael.
You know the rules here. You got 60 seconds until I ring this wretched bell, and then we'll grill you. Go for it.
Platespin is a software company that brings flexibility and automation to the data center. Specifically, we help companies adapt to the changing infrastructure from what they have today to what the IT industry would position as its new offerings. As that gap increases, it challenges the business services that exist in the data center, bringing risk to the enterprise overall. Since reforming Platespin in March of 2003, we've successfully built an initial client base, a growing network of partners across North America, Europe, and the Far East who have validated our solutions. We're looking to raise $5 to $7 million of new capital to further build out our primary sales channel, to advance our intellectual property, to recruit new talent for our team, and increasingly to raise the profile of Platespin overall. My name's Stephen Pollock. I'm CEO of Platespin and head up our team. I encourage you to spend some time over the next few weeks visiting Platespin to explore this exciting business opportunity. Thank you very much.
Stephen, time.
Well done.
Well, Steve, all I can say is that you
I've changed.
You speak a lot faster than you look like you're speaking.
It was out of sync. Very
You
well
look the
done.
same. You look the same,
yeah.
Stephen.
You know, the
Yeah.
beard, yeah. What was interesting is they set us up with the cameras, but the people we were talking to were actually over there. And I don't know about you, but I need to see the
Oh,
people I'm talking to, which is why my
Yeah.
eyes are going that way, because the
oh, is that why?
camera
Oh,
is actually
funny.
over there. So it was a very
Yeah.
odd setup, very disturbing. But
Yeah.
I
So-
once
that's-
on the button, I spent all day practicing that, all day practicing.
I didn't
that.
understand the word you said in the first 30 seconds either.
So, you know, guys,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's happening in IT, but in other professions, people, instead of that first call, who was it that was saying that you're always called first to do a screen, some places are asking you to answer questions by video, and they decide whether they're going to go to a second, they're going to interview based on that video. So that could potentially happen, and you'd be doing that.
Right.
Yeah, it's more and more happening. I mean, yeah. The volume of resumes and the volume of candidates is significant and stuff. So they use that as pre-screening. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna send out a Zoom link for 9:30. Get your little pitch put together, and I look forward to it. And then we'll see how this thing plays out, whether that's the right time and it'll be half an hour just to get us going, each of us going during the week.
Wonderful.
Sound good, guys?
Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet
Okay, guys.
Thank
Thank you, guys.
Stephen.